Hello, future chemists. Welcome to an exciting journey into the heart of chemical bonding. Today, we are diving deep into valence bond theory, a fundamental concept that helps us understand how atoms come together to form molecules. We'll explore this fascinating topic through 4 levels: easy, medium, hard, and hardest, building your knowledge step by step for GMA. Let's unlock the secrets of why and how atoms bond. Ready to discover the basics of how atoms connect? Let's start with the easy part of valence bond theory. First, why do atoms bond? Well, it's all about stability. Just like you might feel more stable with friends, atoms bond to achieve a lower energy state, typically by completing their outermost electron shells, often following the octet rule. These forces holding atoms together are what we call chemical bonds. Valence bond theory, or VBT, was developed by scientists like Linus Pauling. It's a powerful tool that explains how covalent bonds form when atomic orbitals overlap. Imagine two atoms, each with an unpaired electron, deciding to share those electrons by merging parts of their electron clouds. This overlap is the key to covalent bond formation. So, what are the core ideas of VBT? Firstly, bonds form when atomic orbitals, each containing a single, unpaired electron, overlap. Secondly, these electrons, once in the overlapping region, pair up with opposite spins, creating a stable shared pair. Thirdly, the greater the overlap between these orbitals, the stronger and more stable the bond will be. This principle of maximum overlap also explains why bonds have specific directions. Take the simplest example, the hydrogen molecule, H2. Each hydrogen atom has one electron in its 1s orbital. When two H atoms get close, their 1s orbitals overlap, sharing their electrons to form a strong HH covalent bond. Simple, right? Now that you've grasped the basics of VBT, it's time to test your understanding with a few quick practice questions. Pause the video here, think about the concepts we just discussed, and try to answer them. Good luck! Great job on the easy level. Now, let's deepen our understanding and explore more advanced aspects of VBT at the medium level. Let's quickly recap the core ideas of VBT. Remember, a covalent bond forms when two half-filled atomic orbitals, each with an electron of opposite spin, overlap. These electrons then pair up, and the bond forms in the direction of maximum overlap, giving molecules their specific shapes. This process always releases energy, leading to a more stable molecule. Now, VBT distinguishes between two main types of covalent bonds based on how orbitals overlap: sigma and pi bonds. Sigma bonds are formed by a head-on or axial overlap, like two s orbitals, an s orbital and a p orbital, or two p orbitals approaching each other directly. They are strong and allow free rotation. Pi bonds, on the other hand, are formed by the sideways overlap of unhybridized p orbitals, typically above and below the internuclear axis. They are generally weaker than sigma bonds and restrict rotation, which is why double and triple bonds are rigid. While VBT was revolutionary, it couldn't fully explain why all bonds in molecules like methane, CH4, are identical, even though carbon's valence electrons are in different s and p orbitals. This led to the introduction of hybridization, a brilliant extension to VBT. Hybridization is the concept where atomic orbitals of slightly different energies, like 1s and 3p orbitals, intermix to form a new set of equivalent orbitals called hybrid orbitals. These hybrid orbitals have identical energy and shape, and they are much more effective at forming strong, directional bonds because they can achieve better overlap compared to pure atomic orbitals. Think of it as mixing different paints to get a new, uniform color that's better for your painting. Let's look at the common types of hybridization. If one s and one p orbital mix, you get two sp hybrid orbitals, leading to a linear geometry, like in beryllium chloride, BCl2. When 1s and 2p orbitals mix, you form 3 sp superscript 2 hybrid orbitals, resulting in a trigonal planar geometry, as seen in boron trifluoride, BF3. And finally, if 1s and all 3p orbitals mix, you get 4 sp superscript 3 hybrid orbitals, which gives a tetrahedral geometry, like in methane, CH4. It's important to remember that lone pairs also occupy these hybrid orbitals and influence the final molecular shape. Understanding hybridization is crucial for predicting molecular geometries accurately using VBT. You've now moved beyond the basics and explored sigma and pi bonds, along with the crucial concept of hybridization. It's time to apply this knowledge. Here are 5 practice questions for the medium level. Take your time, recall the definitions and examples, and choose the best answer for each. Good luck! Excellent work! Ready to tackle some deeper insights into VBT? Let's move on to the hard level and explore its nuances and limitations. While VBT, especially with hybridization, is incredibly useful, it does have its limitations. For instance, basic VBT predicts that oxygen, O2, should be diamagnetic because all its electrons would appear paired. However, experiments show O2 is paramagnetic, meaning it has unpaired electrons. VBT struggles to explain this. It also finds it difficult to describe bonding in electron-deficient compounds, like diborane, B2H6, or molecules with an odd number of electrons, such as nitric oxide, NO. Furthermore, VBT provides only limited explanations for the vibrant colors and complex magnetic behavior of coordination compounds. And while it incorporates resonance, it doesn't intrinsically account for fully delocalized electron systems like in benzene, which is better explained by molecular orbital theory. Now, how does VBT compare to VSEPR theory in predicting molecular geometry? VSEPR, or valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, focuses on minimizing electron pair repulsions around the central atom, considering both bonding and lone pairs. VBT, with hybridization, uses the orientation of hybrid orbitals to predict geometry. Both theories often arrive at the same geometry, but VSEPR is simpler, based on repulsion, while VBT offers a more quantum mechanical explanation of how bonds form and why they adopt specific directions due to orbital overlap. Let's dive deeper into VBT's explanation of molecular properties. Bond strength is directly proportional to the extent of orbital overlap. Greater overlap means stronger bonds. Hybrid orbitals, with their directional nature, often achieve better overlap, leading to stronger bonds. Bond length, conversely, is inversely related to bond strength. Stronger bonds are generally shorter. It's also influenced by atomic size. Bond angles are determined by the type of hybridization and the presence of lone pairs. Remember the order of repulsions. Lone pair repulsion is strongest, followed by lone pair-bond pair, and then bond pair repulsion. These repulsions cause deviations from ideal geometries, for example, in water and ammonia from a perfect tetrahedral angle. Finally, let's consider hybridization in more complex molecules. For molecules like phosphorus pentachloride, PCl5, we see sp superscript 3d hybridization, where 1s, 3p, and 1d orbital mix to form 5 hybrid orbitals, resulting in a trigonal bipyramidal geometry. Here, the axial bonds are typically longer and weaker than the equatorial bonds due to greater repulsion. For molecules like sulfur hexafluoride, SF6, we observe sp superscript 3d superscript 2 hybridization, involving 1s, 3p, and 2d orbitals, forming 6 hybrid orbitals that lead to an octahedral geometry, where all bond angles are 90 degrees. The number of sigma bonds and lone pairs around the central atom are key to determining the hybridization. Let's talk about resonance within the framework of VBT. For certain molecules, such as the carbonate ion or benzene, a single Lewis structure or VBT representation cannot fully explain all observed properties, like equal bond lengths where we might expect alternating single and double bonds. This is where the concept of resonance comes in. VBT incorporates resonance by suggesting that the actual structure of such a molecule is not any one of the individual structures, but rather a resonance hybrid of two or more contributing, or canonical, structures. The electrons, particularly pi electrons, are not confined to a single bond but are delocalized over multiple atoms. Take benzene, for example. VBT describes benzene as a resonance hybrid of two kekulé structures. Each carbon atom is sp superscript 2 hybridized, forming 3 sigma bonds, and the remaining unhybridized p orbitals overlap sideways to form a delocalized pi electron cloud above and below the ring. This delocalization, represented by the resonance structures, successfully explains the observed equal carbon-carbon bond lengths and the molecule's enhanced stability. You've navigated through the complexities of VBT, including its limitations, comparison with VSEPR, resonance, and advanced hybridization. Now, challenge yourself with these 7 hard-level practice questions. Apply your analytical skills and detailed understanding to solve them. Take your time, think critically, and reinforce your learning. All the best. Congratulations on making it this far. We are now at the hardest level, where we'll delve into the most advanced aspects and competitive insights of valence bond theory. Get ready to connect VBT with broader chemical concepts. At this advanced level, let's explore more complex hybridization schemes. In coordination chemistry, we encounter DsP superscript 2 hybridization, where 1d, 1s, and 2p orbitals combine to form 4 DsP superscript 2 hybrid orbitals, resulting in a square planar geometry, often seen in d-metal complexes like Ni, Cn, 4, superscript 2. Then there's the distinction between d superscript 2 sp superscript 3 and sp superscript 3d superscript 2 hybridization, both leading to an octahedral geometry. The key difference lies in whether inner d superscript 2 sp superscript 3 or outer sp superscript 3 d superscript 2 d orbitals are used, which is crucial for explaining the magnetic properties of coordination compounds. A more subtle concept is Bend's rule, which states that atomic orbitals with more s character are directed towards more electropositive substituents, while those with more p character are directed towards more electronegative ones. This helps explain deviations from ideal bond angles, for instance, in molecules like PCl3F2, where fluorine atoms prefer axial positions due to higher p character. These advanced concepts provide a deeper understanding of molecular structures beyond simple geometries. One of the most important comparisons in chemical bonding is between valence bond theory and molecular orbital theory, or MOT. VBT's strengths lie in its intuitive visualization of localized bonds and its success in explaining directional bonding and molecular geometry through hybridization, making it excellent for simple organic molecules. However, VBT falls short in explaining phenomena like the paramagnetism of O2 bonding in electron-deficient species or fully delocalized systems without ad hoc concepts like resonance. MOT, on the other hand, excels where VBT fails. It explains paramagnetism, delocalization, and bonding in odd electron molecules by combining atomic orbitals to form new molecular orbitals that span the entire molecule. The core difference is that VBT views bonds as localized overlaps of atomic orbitals, while MOT describes electrons occupying molecular orbitals that are delocalized over the entire molecule. While MOT offers a more complete quantum mechanical picture, it's often less intuitive and more computationally intensive than VBT. Now, let's briefly touch upon quantitative aspects. The overlap integral is a mathematical measure of how much two atomic orbitals overlap. VBT qualitatively links greater overlap to higher bond energy and stability. While VBT doesn't provide precise numerical values, it helps us understand why sigma bonds are generally stronger than pi bonds due to more effective head-on overlap. VBT also offers insights into bonding in coordination compounds, though crystal field theory is generally preferred for detailed analysis. VBT distinguishes between inner orbital complexes and outer orbital complexes. Inner orbital complexes form when strong ligands cause the central metal ions electrons to pair up, making inner d orbitals available for hybridization, typically d superscript 2 sp superscript 3. These are often low spin and diamagnetic or have fewer unpaired electrons. Outer orbital complexes form when ligands don't cause electron pairing, and outer d orbitals are used for hybridization, usually sp superscript 3d superscript 2. These are generally high spin and paramagnetic. VBT provides a simple framework for predicting magnetic properties and geometries, though it doesn't explain the splitting of d orbitals or the color of these compounds. Moving to aromaticity, VBT can qualitatively account for the enhanced stability of aromatic compounds like benzene through resonance. Each carbon in benzene is sp superscript 2 hybridized, forming sigma bonds, and their unhybridized p orbitals overlap sideways to create a delocalized pi electron cloud above and below the ring. This delocalization, represented by resonance structures, explains the extraordinary stability and equal carbon-carbon bond lengths. However, Mott provides a more rigorous quantum mechanical explanation of molecular orbitals spanning the entire ring, aligning with Huckel's rule. Valence bond theory, especially with the concept of hybridization, has a profound legacy. It provided the first simple, intuitive, and visually appealing framework for understanding covalent bonding, predicting molecular shapes, and explaining the directional nature of bonds. It remains an indispensable tool, particularly in organic chemistry, for quickly understanding bond formation and molecular structure. However, it's essential to remember that VBT is an approximation. In modern quantum chemistry, more sophisticated computational methods, such as ab initio calculations and density functional theory, are used to solve the Schrödinger equation directly for the entire molecule, often without relying on predefined orbitals or the concept of hybridization. Despite its limitations, VBT and Mott are often seen as complementary. VBT excels in describing localized bonding and providing quick structural insights, while Mott is superior for understanding delocalized systems, magnetic properties, and spectroscopic behavior. Together, they offer a comprehensive understanding of the intricate world of chemical bonding, pushing the boundaries of what we know about how matter holds together. You've absorbed a wealth of advanced knowledge about valence bond theory, its applications, and its place in modern chemistry. Now, it's time to solidify your understanding with these challenging practice questions. Here are the first 5 questions. Take your time to analyze each one, drawing upon all the concepts we've covered at the hardest level. Good luck! Let's continue to sharpen your problem-solving skills with the remaining 5 hardest level questions. These questions are designed to test your comprehensive understanding and ability to apply VBT in complex scenarios, preparing you thoroughly for competitive exams like GMAT. Give it your best shot. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into valence bond theory. From the basics of orbital overlap to advanced hybridization and comparisons with molecular orbital theory, you've gained a comprehensive understanding of how atoms bond. This knowledge is crucial for your GMAT preparation and for building a strong foundation in chemistry. If you found this session helpful, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in for more such detailed educational content, practice problems, and interactive lessons. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting chemistry lessons. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep excelling. See you in the next session.